Hello everyone, Jeremy Burchard from Moonlight Social here, and welcome to another one of our YouTube videos. So on this channel, we do two things. We share our music and videos, and we talk about the gear and techniques we use to make them. Today we're going to talk about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, an amazing camera that came out 3 years ago. Why are we talking about a 3-year-old camera when every single camera company under the sun is releasing new gear? Because it's still a better camera than some of the ones that are 3 years newer and 3 times the price. Alright, seriously though, typical YouTube disclaimer that cameras are just tools and techniques are what get you to make beautiful videos. You could make something beautiful with a potato, but it's not as fun to talk about potatoes as it is to talk about cameras, so let's talk about the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. I'm going to make the case that this is still one of the best cameras you can get even 3 years after it was released, and I'm going to show you some of the footage that I've shot with it over the past couple months. So I'm a big fan of Blackmagic design, but I'm definitely not a fanboy by any means. I don't run out and buy everything they put out, even though I often want to buy the things they put out. I spend a lot of time, like most of y'all, watching videos and doing research before I ever actually purchase a new piece of gear. So even though I might want to buy the new 6K Pro, I have to take a step back and say, hold on, is this really a camera that I need right now, or should I spend more of my budget on things like lenses and lights? And spoiler alert, most time I'm gonna recommend you buy new lenses and lights over a camera, but that's a different video. So here's what you should know about the context of this video. For starters, this is not my first Blackmagic camera. I've actually been using the Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K since 2018. Second of all, I actually bought the Pocket 4K near the end of 2020 when the 6K was already available and I knew that they were going to be releasing a new camera within the next couple of months. So the Pocket 4K is actually my most recent purchase, and here are 5 reasons that I believe it is still an amazing buy years after it came out. Reason number 1, image quality. There's not a lot that I can say about the Blackmagic Pocket 4K's image quality that hasn't already been said before, but I can show you some of the most recent stuff I've shot and let you see it for yourself. Now I will also say this, a good looking image in 2018 is going to be a good looking image in 2028, 2038, whenever it is. Just because there are newer cameras and newer sensors that come out doesn't mean the previous footage suddenly looks worse. We've reached the point in filmmaking where improvements to sensors and cameras are more about increased and enhanced workflow and technical options than they are about noticeable differences in the final product. The new Arri Alexa Mini LF doesn't suddenly make a 2012 film like Skyfall, which was shot with a much earlier version of the Alexa, suddenly look worse. It's a gorgeous image regardless of what else has come out since then. And many of the Alexa cameras use the same sensor that they had 10 years ago because it's such a great piece of technology. In many ways, the same is true for what Blackmagic has been able to do with their underlying approach to camera images in general. So no matter what new technologies Blackmagic and other companies come out with, it doesn't change the fact that the Pocket 4K is capable of producing a Hollywood caliber image. That was true 3 years ago, and that'll be true 10 years from now. Reason number 2, versatility. Because of the size of this camera body, you can fit it a lot of places that other cinema cameras can't quite fit. And what the Pocket 4K has specifically over other cameras in the Pocket line is the Micro Four Thirds mount. Because of the Micro Four Thirds mount, you're able to use a bunch of really cool lenses, including some amazing budget anamorphic lenses that have come out in the past year, and a bunch of other cool little Micro Four Thirds options. But you're also able to adapt other camera lenses to a Micro Four Thirds mount using things like a speed booster. Obviously, you have to take sensor size and crop factor into account, but it's much easier to slot a Pocket 4K into your existing ecosystem than it is to suddenly feel like you have to go out and buy a bunch of new lenses for a new camera mount. Reason number 3, community. This is kind of a 2-part explanation. The first part is that because so many people have bought the Pocket 4K over the past 3 years, there's a really cool, strong community of people online who love to talk about the camera. There are tons of places to share images and videos that you've shot, get tips and helpful rigging tricks, troubleshooting as well if there's a problem that pops up, and really just all kinds of people who love to talk about the Pocket 4K. The second thing I mean by community is more in the compatible accessories world. Because the community around the Pocket 4K has been so strong and so vocal, tons of companies have come out with compatible accessories for the Pocket line of cameras. Not just the 4K obviously, but essentially every single piece of user feedback ultimately leads to some cool new addition either from a third party or from Blackmagic themselves. Reason number 4, continued support from Blackmagic Design. Blackmagic Design does a really good job of making people feel like they're getting their money's worth. Case in point, they continually offer software updates for all of their cameras, and that means that the Pocket 4K will soon be getting the new Gen 5 color science that they developed along with the Ursa 12K. Some of these updates can kind of get lost on some people, but I promise there are a ton of people who are incredibly grateful that they continue to issue new software and bring the Pocket 4K along with the 6K, 6K Pro, and Ursa line of cameras when it comes to just what types of images these cameras can shoot. In a lot of ways, when a company releases a new camera, you kind of feel like that suddenly devalues your old one, but because Blackmagic has done such a good job of keeping things up to date and, continually addressing user feedback, it really feels like you're getting a great value for a camera. They also have done an awesome job of pricing things fairly. If something new comes out, they do make it more affordable to get the, previous models. And reason number 5, the most obvious one, value. Look, there's just no camera out there that can produce the type of images that these cameras can produce for $1,300. Now, obviously this camera functions differently than the typical DSLR or mirrorless camera. You have to learn about things like native ISOs and shooting and editing in RAW, as well as, handling all this additional manual control you have while giving up some of those older kind of set it and forget it settings that you might have been used to. But if your goal is ultimately to get as close to commercial TV and film footage as you can, you're gonna have to learn those things anyways, and it's incredible that you can do it with a $1,300 camera. And when you consider that they include a studio license for DaVinci Resolve, which is a $300 value, it's incredible. You can literally begin using the same workflow that they use on the biggest budget movies out there. Honestly, it's mind-blowing. So there you go. My top 5 reasons I believe the Pocket 4K is still an incredible buy years after it came out. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you have thoughts about the 4K or the 6K or the new 6K Pro, feel free to hop in the comments. Please share your work with me if you've shot some things that you're really proud of. I love to check out people's stuff. And if this was your first time on the channel, thank you for stopping by. Feel free to peruse more of the stuff that we've put out, including music videos that we've shot with the 4K and the Ursa and all sorts of other gear. So until next time, thanks guys.